Hi, Dinah.
Hello, Maria. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great.
I'm
Everything's
so
great.
excited that you wanted to do this. Talk to me because we have actually a lot in common. You had a narcissistic mother, and I had a narcissistic father, and all through our lives, we have both bumped into people with narcissistic traits and met them in one form or another. And we are both um, what you call professionals working with this exact issue, but in different ways. So I thought it would be awesome to have a chat with you and just, compare notes and share little stories and examples from our lives and in that way create some value for the people out there who are going through this right now in their lives.
Absolutely. And you're going to see my puppy some in the background. She likes to
Oh,
listen in on
hey, puppy.
the conversations. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm Dinah. I am certified in rapid transformational therapy, and I help women heal their anxiety and blocks that are preventing them from getting to their next level of success, whatever that means for them. And this is such fulfilling work, rewarding work, because I needed it in my life. I got to a point later in life where I thought, why do I keep ending up in the same situations over and over and over when I think that I'm out of the bad stuff and I'm attracting new things in my life? And I would find out I was wrong again. And so that search, that long, deep internal search for the answers has been what's driven me in my life, and not wanting to repeat the same patterns until the day I die. You know what I mean? It's like
I
at some
totally get what you mean. Yeah. And thank you for the introduction. I already have like 1,000 things I want to say, but let's do the introduction because now you started it. Can you say your title again?
I am a anxiety and pain reversal specialist. I have been in private practice for about 10 and a half years in my local brick and mortar business, and I've just recently really gone online, but to introduce myself, because now we realize we can work with women all over the world, right, via the internet. And so I help women release anxiety, depression, pain, and help them develop the inner confidence, and the empowerment to reach their next level of success in life or business.
Sounds lovely. Sounds
Yeah.
lovely. But you are a hypnotherapist? Is that the correct term?
Rapid transformational therapy is
Rapid transformational therapy. Sorry, I'm not a native English speaker, so sometimes I need to repeat things to really, take it in. Okay.
Yeah, it's a combination of several different therapies, a little psychotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, regression work, we regress, and then, the hypnotherapy part to reprogram the deep subconscious beliefs which are driving our entire lives, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love NLP. Yeah, it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most
Well,
powerful.
maybe I should say a little bit about who I am.
Absolutely.
My name is Maria Wolfe, and I am a classically trained psychotherapist originally with their existential and experiential methods. But I have continued to educate myself over the last 20 years. So I'm very skilled in a lot of different methods and can pick from my toolbox to whatever the issue is. But I have been online for the last 4 years and have all my clients I'm doing sessions online with Zoom and WhatsApp. and have been for the last 4 years. And on the side of that, I'm an author. And I love writing books. I love to pass the knowledge on, as you and I have talked about right before we logged in. And what you also said, passing on the knowledge to those out there who really need it. Because one thing that I think you probably will agree on is that when we are dealing with narcissists or any form of toxic people, is that we become a little unsure if we can believe what we see. It's so surreal that we feel like we're going crazy. So it's really important to have people who are role models that we can look at and go, oh my God, they experienced it too. So what I'm seeing is actually real.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I have 3 daughters who are grown now. I have a son too, but I have really appreciated being able to be there for them in their journeys too, because I know all the signs. You know, I know about the gaslighting and the future faking and the love bombing and just the lying and the lying and the lying. And I can see it now. I can just go, nope, nope, nope. You know, they say, Mom, why is this person do? So like, because if you look at I don't know what it is now. I haven't looked it up recently, but like the textbook definition of a narcissist is someone who thinks very highly of themselves, you know, this grandiose sense of self. But that doesn't really cover, that does not explain what being in the experience of a relationship with a narcissist is like. It's like you said, it is extremely confusing. Mm-hmm. And you start to doubt your own reality, right? Exactly. Any sense of self-trust that you had before, you start to lose all of it during a narcissistic relationship. So yeah.
And the narcissist is so good at telling you that you should do this, that you're the crazy one, that you are causing all the trouble. So you're being groomed and brainwashed to actually take all the blame and take all the guilt and feel that you should do better, instead of trusting your instinct in what you see.
Exactly. They are extremely skilled at what they do. And many of the people that are attracted to narcissists are extremely intelligent people.
Yes.
But these are master manipulators. And they usually, the first thing, you know, as you probably are well aware of, first thing they do is that love bombing stage where they convince you that they are your soulmate and you are the one they've been looking for their entire lives, and make you feel uber special. And then at some point that switch just flips.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You and me, I don't think a lot of other people understand how special you are, but I see it. I see how special you are. You and me, we're like this, you know, we're like this. Nobody understands us. Nobody appreciates us. They're just jealous of our amazingness. And you go, oh my God, they see me for the first time in my life. I feel so loved. I've never felt this validated. And I feel so amazing around this person.
Yes, and that's it. You get on all the hormones and chemicals that your brain is being released, and you think, oh,
yeah,
I have come into my, you know, I've met my soulmate, and you get excited. You trust this person fully, and then at some point, there is something happens where they completely confuse you and or shock you, right? They just turn. It goes from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. Now you're confused. You don't know what you did wrong. A lot of times we start to feel ashamed, you know, like, what did I do to make this wonderful person so angry with me?
Yeah.
you know, and as women especially, so women who are attracted to these people, we tend to blame ourselves. I think for everything that I've seen, all the women that I've worked with, we believe that we just aren't good enough deep down inside for this person, because if we were, they would not treat us the way that they do. That's how, one of the reasons I think women stay stuck in these toxic relationships for decades, because they can't see, they can't step back far enough and look at the whole situation objectively. And then on top of that, their friends and family have no idea what they're talking about. It's hard to describe a relationship with a narcissist.
It is, because what they do is so subtle. And it's when you say this about women, it's so interesting, because I've had quite a few men come to me with narcissistic wives or girlfriends. And two things about that. A lot of men have bought into the story, happy wife, happy life. That means that as a man, you have to keep your wife happy. There is no way in hell that you can keep a narcissist happy. It cannot be done. You are expected to do your best and be the best in the world, but you will never be good enough, even if you are. The second thing is, when you cannot do this as a man, you become very shameful. And that is the same for men and women. We feel so ashamed that we cannot be the partner that our partner needs. And that really breaks us down. And shame is one of the things, it's one of my big pet peeves is shame. When we feel shame, we stop being who we are. We start to make ourselves invisible and insignificant. We start to peel off little bits of ourselves to sort of be allowed to be in the world. So I think everyone who has ever come to me has had problems with shame. They are ashamed that they let this happen to them, that they could not do better, you know? And you know, you were a daughter of a narcissistic mother, right?
Yeah. Officially.
And I'm a daughter of a narcissistic father, and we have that in common too. The feeling of never being good enough, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I was also the eldest of 3 children. Now, my mother was never diagnosed as with narcissistic personality disorder, but of course, you know how difficult it is to even get a diagnosis, because of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them.
It's never their fault.
Why would they go to see someone? But she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Okay. So that, you know, but now as an adult looking back on everything, I can see highly narcissistic traits there. She was also an only child, which doesn't mean that you know, every only child is going to be a narcissist. But yeah, a lot of shame, a lot of, she wanted she wanted me to be like her. When she was growing up, she was homecoming queen. She was, you know, a cheerleader. She was Miss Pop, you know, all these things. And I had no interest in, I wanted to be invisible growing up. That was the way that I learned how to cope, right?
Yeah.
Was just stay out of the way. It's the shame that you're talking about. Go to my room and hide. And people please, you know, just try to make everybody happy, take all the responsibility, mother her, you know, be mom's helper, be, you know, just be the little mom and try to keep everything under control. What I didn't know, though, I didn't realize this until my early 40s, is that all of that childhood stuff way back in the past was not in the past. I had no idea whatsoever, because no one had ever told me that our past is not in the past. It was kind of like a light bulb moment, like all of those things, the person I learned to be, you know, as a very small child, was still controlling my life, you
Exactly.
know, in my early 40s. And that it was all still in there. It was all unhealed, you know, stuff in my body. And so that's when I really was able to start looking at myself a little bit more closely, because how could I attract a horrible person over and over and over again when I was this nice, loving, giving, kind, sweet, do anything for you person? Well,
Exactly. And I heard myself say sometimes over and over again, at least I'm not falling for guys who are like my father. And
yeah,
reality, I was falling for guys who were exactly like my father. But what I couldn't see was that it was not the aggressive, abusive, violent part of him. It was a part of him that was behind the very visible outside facade. It was the fact that all narcissists hate themselves. They hate their life. They are dystonic. And if you don't know, if someone watching doesn't know what dystonic is, it means you hate life. It's kind of a chronic mental state where you actually deep down hate life. And you do not assume responsibility for your own life. And it's never your fault that your life is not going the way you want it to. I fell for guys who were like that every single time. And I was there trying to be the facilitator and the little helper and the pleaser, and I'll help you and I'll make it good and I'll do anything you need to make you happy. And it was exactly what my father had beneath the surface, was the same for all my men.
yeah, yeah. I was lucky enough to have an absolutely wonderful father. He is amazing and kind and giving. And I think I thought every man was going to be like him. You see what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
No, I thought this is what men are. I had no boundaries, no guard up. I thought if you were crazy, you would have a crazy stamp on your forehead, right? Nobody, we didn't talk about these things when I was growing up. You know,
No.
no one talked about mental illness. No one talked about personality disorders.
No.
You know, no, we just didn't. And so a lot of people, I think, in our generation have had to just kind of figure all this stuff out as we went along.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Exactly. I'm thinking that you and I grew up in a time where therapy became an option. It was still kind of the classic therapy, but we had the option. And then therapy developed and progressed over the years. And over the last 30 years, we have seen new methods evolve and show up that makes dealing with some of these issues, I wouldn't say easy, but easier, you know, because we know that it's not all done just with talk. Talk therapy can only get you so far, you know.
Exactly.
You have to have more. And I think this is one of the things that I'm guessing now. I don't know you so well. I hope we'll get to know each other a lot better over time. But this is one of the things that you discovered and I also discovered on our own.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had pretty severe postpartum depression after one of my children. And I went to go see someone for a couple of months. And that's when the first little light bulb moment went off for me that something isn't quite right in your relationship.
Oh, yeah.
But even back then, I grew up in kind of a smallish medium town in the South, right? We did not talk about psychologists and psychotherapy, and it was very hush hush. You didn't talk about your family problems. You didn't talk about mental health. I mean, there was a lot of shame, stigma around you if you weren't, okay. And when I got older and kept going, through different experiences and events in my life, and I started becoming certified in some of these things. So spent, the last 10 and a half years of my life getting different certifications. But it's kind of like you, just having different tools, right, to choose from to help people. But nothing was helping me with that deep down inner stuff, like visibility fears, lack of confidence, procrastination, perfectionism, the imposter syndrome thing. Nothing was giving me a breakthrough with that, which is why I kept searching and searching and searching. And that's when I found rapid transformational therapy and started having, sessions. And I was like, this is it. This is the talking, the conscious information, all of these things. I could know encyclopedias full of knowledge, but none of that was changing my core, deep down subconscious inner beliefs about me.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine who was also a psychotherapist. And she said, no, I don't believe that you can change who you attract. And we had just seen a study based on, like, I don't know, several thousand people where they they knew everybody's background, family background. Yeah. And they wanted to see who we got attracted to, who the participant got attracted to in a room of 1,000 people. Who would they choose? Who would everybody choose to talk to and deem as a potential partner? And of course, the study showed that everybody picked something that had a similar family background to their own. Because we do that, we seek them out because our brain is geared to choose what we know and what is in our comfort zone more than what is healthy for us.
Yes.
And I remember that conversation so clearly, like feeling so powerless and feeling so giving up. Okay, then I might as well be single for the rest of my life, because if I cannot stop falling in love with guys who are irresponsible and projecting and hates their life, and I have to be this little helper and facilitator for the rest of my life, I don't want to be that. Then I'd rather be single. So growing more into it and having all these new methods coming out, and suddenly realizing, as you say, the light bulb goes on. Yeah. Oh, there is something, a deeper layer that I can change in me that will change what I attract. Wow. Oh, wow. There is a way. Yes. Oh, thank you. I was devastated before that. So seeing that was really amazing. And I think it's so beautiful that now we have actually several methods, because, everybody's path is individual and can be different. So finding exactly the tool, the therapist, the way, the path, the book that will lead you to that realization and give you peace of mind and heart is so wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do have the power to change who we attract. The tools are here now and they're available to you, and you're not doomed. And there is a reason if you are attracting, I'm just telling everybody out there, if there's a pattern that keeps repeating in your life and you can't understand why it keeps repeating, what I have discovered, these are just my beliefs. I don't know if you, Maria, have a different theory, but my belief is that it keeps coming back into our lives, into our awareness, into our experience to be healed.
Yes, exactly.
For you, okay? It's for you. It's the universe saying, I still got this thing. Yes. So even though we can talk about you and I can probably talk about narcissists for a month straight, right?
Probably,
And all
yeah.
the red flags and all the problems and all the horrible things they do. But what it comes down to, it's you that has to heal. It's me
Yes.
that has to heal.
Yes.
So we stop attracting these people. Exactly what you just said.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's the relationship with me that I have to change to change relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. What an important point. What a great like a great what can we call it?
Analogy, maybe, or example, analogy.
Yeah, a headline for this, you know?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I mean, it was like, for me, it was like, what, for decades, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with these men? What's wrong with them? And then someone said to me one day, and I still didn't get it, okay? But I remember very clearly, I think it was probably 12 or 15 years ago, someone looked at me and said, you are the common denominator of your life, right? You're the common denominator. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that, but I'm nice. And I had no boundaries, and I had no confidence, and I had no self-esteem, and I had no, but I couldn't.
Yeah, me too. And I remember I was in my 20s when I started therapy with a totally classic cognitive psychologist. And what I remember is she asked me, what is going on in your life? Why is all this happening, you think? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I just know that nobody likes me. I don't understand it. And I would really like to be able to change their opinion. I was in my own beginning of my process, I was so engulfed with others that even though I was in therapy, I was still talking about changing other people. And of course, she just listened to me and let me blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s that I had, of course, some clues before that, but where I fully realized, oh my God, this is all about me. This is all about me. It's only me. It's only me. I can change this. I have to do this. This is me. Me, 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 me. And of course, as soon as I realized this, I was like, but if I only do me and think about me and work with me, I am the narcissist.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an interesting topic right there. I was actually speaking with someone yesterday about this narcissists, one of their personality traits, I think, is they're very controlling, right? Yeah. Very, very controlling of their partners. They have two personas. They have their public persona. Everybody loves them. Everybody thinks they're great and awesome. And then they have a different persona at home where they're very controlling, usually, of course, different types, different levels, different intensities. But what we don't always see too is that we can be the equally controlling, right?
Oh, yeah.
We need to change them, and how can we make them more loving and them nicer and make them better? And so in a way, it's like, yeah, exactly what you said is, I'm focusing on me. If I focus on me, does that make me the narcissist? Yeah. No, I don't. It makes you healthy. You're self-reflecting, you're developing yourself, right? Which a narcissist can turn that around on you and say, you're such a narcissist, you only care about yourself. Well, that's actually healthy. And when we do self-reflection and spend that time and do our healing work, don't you think that pretty much guarantees that you're not the narcissist? Because I see a lot of women asking am I the narcissist? You know, because he's saying I'm the narcissist. It's like, well, are you self-reflecting? Because they don't do that. You know?
Can you see that you have behavior that are not optimal? Can you see that you are doing some stuff that is maybe not solving problems, but intensifying conflict? And if you say, yeah, I can see that, good, then you're not the narcissist, because then you assume responsibility for your part of what is going on, and you can change that. You can never change the narcissist, but you can change yourself. And if they're willing to accept that, if they go, oh, wow, I understand. Yes, I see that. I understand that. And they start, as you say, reflecting and working on themselves, then they are not narcissist.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what have you learned about healing narcissistic traits? Have you been taught, or have you learned that because I see a lot of times this question being asked to, can we heal the narcissist? Can we fix the narcissist? I just want to know what you believe about that.
Well, actually, I think my response would be very short, and I'm so curious to hear yours afterward. But as soon as we assume that we have a part in what is going on, as soon as we recognize I am part of this problem because I allow abuse, I allow drama, I go into the conflict, I also yell, I am not removing myself from the situation. As soon as we recognize our own part in what is going on, that is the first step to healing. And that is where you can start to work. And that is what will tell us that this person is not a narcissist. A narcissist will go into therapy, but they will never go more than 1, 2, 3 times, because then the therapist will start to dig a little deeper, and the narcissist will not like that, because then they will feel the pain that they are working so hard to not feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. So in other words, the narcissist isn't going to invest the time into their own healing. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we were taught when we were going through our certification for RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, is not to bother. In fact, they're the only people that we cannot work with, other than those with epilepsy or, a seizure disorder. Those are the only 2 types of people we really can't work with or help. Because and in my own experience with it too, and I think this is what keeps women or men, either way, because I know that I know there are women narcissists too. I tend to just work with women more. What keeps them hanging on is that they do believe the person is going to change, right? They think when this person says they're going to change and they're never going to do this, that, or the other again, and they're crying and they're devastated, and they believe that.
Of course.
And it's just not true. Their brain, from the studies that I've seen, their brain is different than a person's brain that has empathy. Like, that part of their brain is actually underdeveloped, and they don't have that. And not everyone is like you and I. And I didn't understand that. Why can't they just change? Why won't they just change? It goes back to that control again. Who says they have to or need to,
Exactly. So if a person says, yeah, I can see my own flaws, I'm willing to change, I'm willing to work with it, whether they have a diagnosis or not, then they can actually change. But if they don't say that, then you cannot make them want to change. And I think this is a core thing about narcissists. I remember having a partner one time who was severely depressed, and instead of acknowledging that he was severely depressed, he was like, no, I'm not depressed. Everybody just thinks I'm lazy. And that was so interesting, as such a wake-up call for me to see what was going on in that relationship, that he might not be a narcissist full-fledged, but he
Right.
definitely had some traits, because at no point would he admit, even though he spent 12 hours on the couch every day with his back to the world, that he was severely depressed. It was everybody else who saw him like that. So there, and I was like, you can sometimes envision like a little funny sketch. I was like this little facilitating helper pleaser dancing around him going, but you're lying on the couch and I really want to help you, and if you just turn around, I have an idea to what we can do, and I'll pay for the therapy and we can go together, and I'll do the therapy and you can just listen. I tried everything, and every time it was just, yeah, you just think I'm an idiot, you don't love me anymore, or you don't understand me just like the rest of my family.
Absolutely. And isn't it interesting that we want to help our partners so much, and we don't see that we're over giving all the time. We're doing all the work, almost all the work for them. Definitely over giving. We get a good feeling in return, but the narcissist will resent us.
Yes.
Yes. Because I think the way they're interpreting is we're basically saying you're not good enough. It's so bizarre,
Yeah, it is bizarre. So Dinah, I have a question for you that I really want to ask you, because you said something that made me really curious, because you talked about pain. And one of the studies I've seen is that a lot of adult children of narcissists and toxic families have hormonal problems. I have had Graves' disease, which is high metabolism, and I've eaten my way out of it. But I didn't think about this as a symptom of what I had grown up with. And then you said this about pain, and I was like, oh, of course, there's all kinds of symptoms and effects to growing up with a narcissistic parents. Would you care to say a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I have a saying, and apparently I'm not the first one who said it, but it was a download one day, meditating and just hear it, I get my little daily downloads from spirit or source or whatever you would like to call that. But it was we acclimate to what we tolerate. Okay. We acclimate
Beautiful.
to what we tolerate. So when we're small children, we have no power in our lives. We are completely dependent on our parents to take care of us, right? We have to acclimate to our environment. Your mind's number one job, the subconscious mind, is to find acceptance, and avoid being rejected. Well, when you're a child, if you're rejected, you're not going to live very long because you are completely dependent. So we learned something about survival and love when we were very young. And it was either love is painful, love is hard, love is scary, love is,
love has a price. Yeah.
Love is being quiet and invisible. Love is not talking. Many women shut down their voices and their authentic self-expression. We keep those same patterns. We uphold those patterns throughout our lives. Whatever we learned back then as children to survive, we use throughout our life unless we heal it, with some type of therapy. So what happens is all that unhealed trauma, we call them traumas. You can call it big trauma, little traumas where it might not be anything obvious, where it builds up in your system over time. And we usually don't know it's there until we are in chronic debilitating pain, immune disorders, where your immune system is oppressed, hormonal, so the endocrine system, which is like in between your physical body and your emotional body. It's kind of where our hormone sort of processes experiences. Also, if we stay in fight or flight too long, our nervous system can forget how to actually calm down. So women end up with fibromyalgia. They end up with, like I said, chronic pain disorders, dis-ease in the body. I mean, our unhealed trauma makes us sick. And so if you don't believe that the toxic emotional events that are happening in your life, if you're in one of these relationships, if you believe that is not affecting your body, that is absolutely not true at all. But we have to go in and heal all that stuff so your body can start healing from all this stuff. I've been a pain specialist for 10.5 years, started with just the physical body and slowly worked into the subconscious mind work. And it is amazingly effective at helping us heal on all of these levels, including the physical.
That's amazing. So you sort of entwined them. So you sort of work with the whole kind of like holotherapy.
Yeah, it's I work with them definitely on healing the physical stuff, the emotional stuff, the mental stuff, but then I work with them on another level too, if they want it. It's optional, but I work with them on a spiritual level also.
Okay.
Because it is, in my experience anyway, as a therapist, I believe a lot of us lose our identities in childhood because we take on a role, the helper, the healer, the whatever. And so this helps when you understand who you really are deep down as a spiritual being, then it helps us solidify our identities and know where to draw the line with people. Like, no, this is not a fault. This is who I am. This is actually one of my gifts. This is who I am. And if I don't uphold that truth about myself, if you make me wrong here, or I believe I am wrong for being whatever it is, strong, creative, healer, or whatever, then if you make me if I start denying myself of the truth of who I am, then, well, the outside of us has to reflect that internal belief, right? Which is, oh, you don't believe in yourself, or you're denying this. Well, guess what? The universe denies you then.
Yeah.
Because everything on the outside of us is just a reflection of our inner core beliefs about ourselves. So we can take that and apply that to narcissists too. It's like, why do I, even if you think you really love yourself, if you're attracting toxic relationships, there's something there's something deep down that you don't realize is in there. And I know that's true for me. I don't know if that was true.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful what you just described, and it so beautifully sums up what is going on and what happens to us. I do a little exercise with my clients or exercise, but a little test. And I'll tell you what it is, because when we are with the toxic people, for example, narcissists, our nervous system tenses up, as we've talked about, and we walk around with that tension. We do not let go of it because we never know when we will be attacked again. That's part of the whole craziness about their narcissists, that we don't know when we are going to be attacked again. So we'll be tensed all the time. And that tension, as you said in the beginning, we take everything with us into our adult life, and it's always there, and it's going to stay there until we do something about it. The last place that we let go of tension as women is the vagina. So if you want to know if you're done with your personal work, send your consciousness down there and feel if you are relaxed in that area. If you're not relaxed there, you still have work to do. There's still trauma and tension affecting your body. And I know that a lot of women carry around this closeness, this tension. I actually had a gynecologist say to me in my 20s, I don't think you should get pregnant because you are so tensed up in your womb area that you will not be able to give birth. That's a horrible message to have when you're 20 something. And for men, it's the same. It's the same, the piece of meat that is between the balls and the rectum, the piece of meat there that will be tensed for a lot of guys. So you can actually make this an exercise that you do a few times every day, like just feel it, send some attention down there and let go. That's gonna make you stand more in yourself. It's gonna be easier to be strong in your vulnerability, I think.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and really, I don't know if you have done any work with the chakras or any study around the energy center. So that's real interesting because that's about where the perineum area is, and there is around the first and second, chakras. I don't know, there's different people that believe different things. I would say it's more around the root, right? Yeah. Around the root. Well, when do we develop our beliefs about the root chakra? The root chakra is our safety, our food, home, roof over our head, what makes us feel safe in the world. Well, we develop those beliefs before the age of 8 years old. So it would make perfect sense to me what you're saying, that we would have problems, in the root area.
And I think that exactly what you're saying is so important, that it's connected. You cannot look at the physical body without also looking at the spiritual body and what goes on in your different chakras. And as you said, it doesn't matter what you believe, but just, start somewhere. If it's physical, start there. If you're spiritual, start there, but there's a connection. It's all goes together.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of women have safety issues, feelings of unsafety in the world, which is, if you think about it, if you don't feel safe in the world, then you're not going to, feel safe to open your heart to an actual loving relationship. You're not going to feel safe to stand out in the world with your own thoughts, your own voice and expression and ideas. A lot of women struggle with that, especially in what I want to say, people that want to be entrepreneurs, because now that's the trend. It's like, we don't need these jobs. We can go out and become an entrepreneur. But when you get right down to it and you realize, oh my gosh, I have to be visible in front of lots and lots of people, that stops them in their tracks so many times because of, again, the imposter syndrome, which I've struggled with, the procrastination, the perfectionism, and it all goes back to exactly what you're talking about, is that root, the core beliefs and feelings of being unsafe in the world.
Yeah, I just heard a new word today that I could really relate to, because you said procrastination. I heard precrastination. That's me. Yes.
Okay, what's that one? I haven't heard that one yet. Tell me that one.
When you solve the problem as soon as it comes into your life. You want to do it before the deadline. So you can tick it off your list. And that's me. I'm procrastinating. but the interesting thing about it is that whether you're procrastinating or procrastinating, it is control. You know, it is an attempt to subconsciously trying to control a world that is full of chaos and with rules you cannot anticipate, and with people who make you go, what? Yeah.
Yeah, they want that certainty, right?
Yeah.
People don't like to feel that uncertainty because it's uncomfortable. We want to be certain about everything. Well, we can't.
No, that's the only thing we can be certain of, is that we're
Exactly.
not can't be certain of anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the sooner we learn to embrace that being uncomfortable and being uncertain is okay, then we can start, freeing ourselves, right, of whatever situation that we're in. Because what's the saying? Keep doing what you've always done, and you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. So you've got to do something new if you want to change your life. And
I think, I think exactly that, Dinah, is a perfect place to end this.
Okay.
Keep doing what you've always done, and you will get what you always got. Yeah, something needs to give. And I have really enjoyed talking to you, as we both, I'm totally in agreement with the fact that we could talk for a month.
Oh yeah, we could. We could talk for a while.
So, but it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope that we can maybe repeat this sometime.
Yeah, I would love that, Maria. I really enjoyed it today, and forever who's watching now, I just want to say thank you for being here and listening, and thank you, Maria, so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for showing up and pouring your heart and soul and your wisdom out here to everybody. So, see you soon again.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.